Good morning, dear students. Let's continue with the topic of leukocytes or WBCs. We have discussed about the different types of WBCs. Now let's discuss about the properties of WBCs. WBCs show the property of diapedesis. Now what is this diapedesis? Diapedesis is the property by which the WBCs squeeze out from the blood capillary into the tissue. This is shown by two types of WBCs called as the neutrophils and monocytes. Now they show amoeboid movement. Now what is this amoeboid movement? You must have been told about amoeba, that they show movement with the help of pseudopodia. So even they have such kind of projections through which they show movement. They also show the property of chemotexis. Now what is chemotexis? The movement towards the chemicals is called as chemotexis. So here they have shown this property in which there is a chemotactic source and they are showing the property of diapedesis. So they are moving out, they are oozing out of the blood vessel and moving into the spaces because of the chemotexis property, chemotactic property, because of which they are moving towards a particular chemical. Now they also show the property of phagocytosis. Let's talk about phagocytosis. Now phagocytosis. Here we have shown the phagocytosis by a WBC in which they are attached to a pathogen with the help of specific receptors present on their surface, and then they engulf the pathogen by forming an envelope around the pathogen. Now, once the pathogen enters inside the leukocyte, it can be broken down by the action of various enzymes in the structure called as phagosome. Now here they also form a major histocompatibility complex which helps in breakdown of these substances. Now there are specific antigen presenting cells which help in the adaptive immunity or recognizing the different types of pathogens. Now let's discuss about the different types of leukocytes in detail. Now first we discuss about neutrophils. As I told you, they are dyed with the help of either acidic or basic, or both type of dyes they can be stained with, so they are called as neutrophils. Now neutrophils, the main function is to recognize करना कि कौन सा पैथोजन एंटर किया है, उसे ingest करना और destroy करना. So almost 10 to the power 11 neutrophils जो है हमारी circulation में enter करते हैं. 6 to 10 hours ये almost हमारी body के अंदर spend करते हैं blood में, और then they move on, removed mostly by spleen. Now, this spleen is a very important organ of the body, which is also called as the graveyard of RBCs, because RBCs, after completing their lifespan of 120 days, they move to the spleen where they die. Now, neutrophils have a size of almost 10 to 14 micrometer, and they have a nucleus which is usually multi-lobed. As you can see, it has many lobes. So the multi-lobed nucleus they have, and the cytoplasm shows the fine pink colored granules as it belongs to the granulocytes. Now they pass into the inflammatory process, or they can undergo the apoptotic cell death and phagocytosis by macrophages. Next we move on to eosinophils. As I told you, they can be dyed with the acidic stains. They have a size of almost 10 to 14 micrometer of their diameter. The nucleus is purple and bilobed. As you can see, there are two lobes of the nucleus. They have granules. They are coarse, bright red, and have lysozyme in them. The major basic proteins are present. Eosinophil peroxidase enzyme is present. Eosinophilic cationic proteins, which act as neurotoxins, are present. They have a lifespan of about 7 to 12 days. Next, we talk about basophils. Basophils are a very important type of the WBCs or the leukocyte. They have a size of almost 8 to 10 micrometer. They have a bilobed nucleus again, and which is S-shaped. The cytoplasm is basophilic. As I told you, it can be dyed with a basic dye. It is granular. The granules are coarse, purple or blue, and many granules are present. They secrete the three very important chemicals. Histamine. Now, what is this histamine or histamine as we call it? Histamine is a vasodilator. Vasodilator means which helps in the dilation of the blood vessels. Then they secrete serotonin, which is a vasoconstrictor. That means they help in decreasing the size of the blood vessel. They also secrete heparin. Heparin, I told you in the previous chapters also, heparin is an anticoagulant. Their lifespan is almost 12 to 15 days. Now, next we talk about the agranulocyte monocytes. Monocytes are about 12 to 14 to 18 micrometer. They have a round, pale, kidney-shaped nucleus. The cytoplasm is agranular, but pale blue small granules are present. They have a lifespan of about 48 to 72 hours in blood and 3 months in tissues. They act as the second line of defense. Now, what is the second line of defense? The first line of defense is formed by your skin, which acts as your defense mechanism for any kind of pathogen which is trying to enter. First has to fight the first line of defense. They are phagocytic in nature, so they show phagocytosis and engulf and kill the pathogen. Students, I want to tell you another very important effect of eosinophils. Eosinophils are also involved in the allergic reactions. So last year there was a question about this, that what do you think the asthmatic patients, which WBCs will they have the high count? So because asthma is also caused because of the allergies, they may be caused because of the allergic reaction. So they'll have a high amount of eosinophils. So next we move on to the lymphocytes. Now lymphocytes are further classified into two groups, the T lymphocyte and the B lymphocyte. Now both of these, as I told you, all of them are synthesized in the bone marrow. But B lymphocyte remain in the bone marrow, but T lymphocyte move on to the thymus. The lifespan is about half to 1 day. They are a very important part of the immune system because they are used for the two types of immunity, which is the most important type of immunity which is studied, called as the cell-mediated immunity and the antibody-mediated immunity. The T lymphocytes are involved in the cell-mediated immunity, in which the T lymphocytes, which can be either the T cytotoxic, T helper, or it can be the T memory cell. So there are three different types of T lymphocytes which are formed once they encounter any pathogen, out of which the T cytotoxic cell themselves help in killing of the pathogen and are called as the T cytotoxic. T helper cell helps in the stimulation of the B lymphocytes, and T memory cells are stored in the body so that next time if the same antigen attacks, they can be easily recognized. B lymphocytes, once they are stimulated by the T lymphocytes, by the T helper cells, they help in releasing the antibodies. The lifespan of lymphocytes is about half to 1 day. Normal leukocyte, the lymphocyte count is about 20 to 40% of the total leukocyte. The absolute count is about 500 to 800 per cubic millimeter of the blood. The B cells, as I told you, they mediate the humoral or the antibody mediated immunity, while the T cells mediate the cellular or the cell mediated immunity. There are the NK cells called as the natural killer cells, which mediate the natural and non-specific immunity. Now, WBCs, as we just discussed, are a very important part of the immunity. So I'll just recommend few things by which you can maintain your WBC count. The first thing is you should avoid the excessive use of sugar. So take it to your minimum level, and because a low level of sugar prevents the white blood cells from being to their strongest, the high level of sugar. Now, eliminate the unhealthy fats, the polyunsaturated fats such as present in the vegetable oils like corn, safflower, and sunflower oil. They deterrent a healthy human system. So you must drink plenty of water to boost your immune system. And very importantly, you should avoid stress and try to relax. Stress is rightly called the silent killer. So lower immune system is obviously an invitation to diseases. Now we're going to talk about platelets. Now, platelets are the cell fragments involved in the blood clotting. They stick to tears in the blood vessels and to each other, forming a plug at the site of the injury. They also release chemicals that are needed for clotting to occur. We'll discuss about blood clotting in detail in the coming videos. Now we talk about another very important body fluid, which is lymph. Now, lymph system retrieves the excessive tissue fluid. Now, that's why lymph is also called as the interstitial fluid or the tissue fluid, or it is also called as the middleman. It is called as the middleman because it is the fluid which leaks from your blood vessels and forms the lymph. Lymph does not contain the large size proteins, the RBCs and the platelets. Now, the plasma that leaks out of the blood vessels and filters and cleans it and returns to the blood. Now, plasma, called as lymphatic fluid, is sent through the lymph nodes throughout the body. There are thousands of lymph nodes which occur in the clusters. Each lymph node filters the lymph fluid to get rid of bacteria and viruses and returns the fluid back into the blood. Lymphatic system. Now, the word lymph comes from lymphaticus, which means connected to water, as lymph is clear. As I told you, it does not contain RBC, so it appears to be clear. Now, they also have a network of vessels, the lymphatic vessels and the lymph nodes, which are located in the major tissues of the body. Lymphatic system, always remember, is absent in CNS, central nervous system, cornea, superficial layer of skin, bones, and alveoli of lung. The lymphatic system consists of the fluid called as lymph, the lymphatic channels, which are the capillaries, vessels, and ducts, the lymph nodes, and the lymph organs. The lymphatic system, as we were discussing, it is the recovered fluid. Lymph is usually a clear, colorless fluid similar to blood plasma, but it contains low in protein because the large size proteins are not able to leak. So they are not present in lymph. Lymphatic vessels mainly comprise either capillaries, collecting vessels, the lymphatic trunks, or collecting ducts. Now, lymphoid tissues, they are the aggregates of lymphocytes in the connective tissues of mucous membrane and various organs. Now, diffuse lymphatic tissue, which are called MALT, which is mucosa-associated lymphatic tissue, and the lymphatic nodules, which are pale patches in the distal portion of the small intestine. Now, lymphoid organs have well-defined anatomical sites and at least partial connective tissue capsules. They are located in the red bone marrow, the thymus, the lymph nodes, the tonsils, and the spleen. These are the important lymphoid organs. Lymph nodes are small bean-shaped organs located in different parts of the body, and they act as drainage points throughout the lymphatic system. They store special cells, lymphocytes, which can trap the cancer cells and bacteria. So because they do not although have RBCs, but they have the WBCs, the leukocyte and the lymphocytes. So they help in protection of the body. They provide immunity to the body. The primary function of the lymph node is to filter out the lymph that enters the lymphatic system. They remove bacteria and antigens from it. After this, lymph returns to the bloodstream. In the lymphatic system, the lymph nodes, together with the spleen, I told you spleen is another very important lymphatic organ, which are the secondary lymphoid organs. Their role is to initiate an adaptive immune response, making them a part of the immune system. So lymphatic system also acts as a part of the immune system. In particular, B and T lymphocytes. We talked about B and T lymphocytes. So they are present in the lymph nodes and are involved in the antibody responses as well as the cell-mediated immune responses respectively. The spleen, though, filters not the lymph but the blood cells. That's all for today. God bless you all. Thank you.